Hello and welcome. Neko Vermillion here, your virtual host. And for those who's not familiar with this, it's basically done with motion tracking software. And this is going to be a video where I respond to Andy Edwards in his video called Saying Goodbye to Proper Music, one of his Philosophy Sunday videos. And I have a lot to say here, so I'm going to jump straight to it. Although first, I do have to make an apology to Andy Edwards, seeing how in my last video, I said Rick Beato was talking about Michael J. Fox when it was actually Andy Edwards that was doing that. So, an apology for my blunder. Now, with that out of the way, I will start with later parts of his videos and basically go into other subjects as I go through this. He speaks a bit about mass production versus the individual, and that is a thing we do see in the arts, which includes music. Thankfully, there are those who value self-expression. Basically the individual and all that good stuff. The other thing is both in what he said of vibrations and what is basically living in the moment, basically the sublime. Many people have other names for it, such as resonance. And there is a question of, can we still have something like that today? Can we achieve a sort of resonance through the digital, especially with digital music? And it seems like no at first, given what is used when it comes to what we hear in modern cinema, which is this here. Hence why I have this playlist screen capped. And of course, there's also the matter of AI being used for bare bone definition of what we may want to see or hear. However, as pointed out by many, both those who talked about, the Marvel Symphonic Universe conversation, as well as Andy Edwards, people do compose their music digitally, through the art of composing. And much like moviegoers seeing the Avengers assemble for the first time, there is a sort of awe in that some can probably compare to the sublime, because movies are basically a form of storytelling, and for some people, they kind of get into this moment watching as the Avengers assemble and the song and the music plays for them. So there's that. That's like one of the arguments made when it comes to this subject, about whether or not there is memorable music or anything like that. So yeah, there is that. And I do liken this to a couple other curious instances. Now, these are basically music CD. Well, the top two are music CDs in my collection, and the bottom two are intro to video games that I played. And the thing is, you get this the first time listening to your favorite album. Maybe at the time you don't know it's your favorite. Like Reptile Electric, I only heard like a few songs from that band from Zoe. Not sure if I'm pronouncing the band name right, but like when I purchased the CD and like popped it in and listened, like it basically an immediate favorite. That first time really just does something else to you. And in a strange way, you kind of get the same way when it comes to video games. Because video games, despite it being a more entertaining thing with its interactivity, it is also a form of, there's also a bit of storytelling in that as well. And, getting to certain points, especially when it comes to the soundtrack, how that works, you kind of get into that sort of point. Now this, For a moment, I will reference Venus theory in relation to Andy's video. First are gigs. Venus theory mentioned the bar gig problem. Basically, not everyone goes to a bar for the music, and not everyone cares. And this can also apply to movies, video games, as well as outside of that with TV shows and animation. In which case, not everyone wants music or cares about the music. And although this is true, there are people who will go to a bar to listen to the band play, just as there are people who appreciate the music of a soundtrack. And just the same, some who are at a bar for food and drink do appreciate the music. The second thing is the problem in digital libraries, which can be summed up as there are paid curators, and the algorithms are often shaped by what the curators rate highly. This is something I got from Venus Series videos. Thank you for that. Now, as for gigs as well as live shows in general, there is the question of, will there be new performers? And I say yes. Some will use masks, some will use costumes, makeup, including suits and casual wear. And then there's those who basically use technology, much akin to what you're seeing me do, although often at a grander scale. Such as this here, the virtual vacation concert. So yeah, some will also use motion capture and animation. This was done in the past by people like the Gorillas, and this is done in the present with shows like this. Some can call this a gimmick, yet there are those who made this into its own media. And surprisingly enough, we also had something similar a little over a decade ago with this, Utao and Vocaloid, and programs like that. Except in the past, it was all computers 100%, whereas these days, the majority of the time, you're going to find that it's going to be virtual characters still, but played by actual people doing songs and skits. And this is especially important to point out because while, yes, there's this whole thing about artificial intelligence, just as how people went from synthesizers to actual voices, people are also going to shift from using artificial intelligence with their content and switching it up to actual people. So that is a thing. Just the same, there are those who express themselves through various means, including music. Likewise, there are those who like to use music to tell stories. So than just movies and video games, people use music just to tell a story as well. Given everything said, clearly there are people who love this, and as to who will or won't enjoy the music, that's complicated. And I don't know why my tracking went weird there for a moment. Yeah, I'm obviously not using as good a tech as everyone else who does this. Now on to the next subject, language of the map, which is easy as fine looking for this playlist here. Now then, to talk about it, I will not just pull information from Andy's videos. I will also do so from Tim O'Reilly's Language of the Map and various articles I've read from Psychology Today, mostly in relation to boredom and monotony, as well as mediocrity. As we grow and develop, three things impact our sense of self: the cultural environment we grew up in, our biology, and our personal experience. Now, we take what we experience, we define it, and then we apply those definitions to whatever is currently going on, as well as the fact that our past definitions and experiences can also shape our actions as well. Okay? And this also contributes to our musical taste, as well as how we perform when it comes to those who perform. Now, as to why some people look for as to why some people look for new music and others don't. Music that is either familiar or have an easy to follow formula are safe and comfortable for those who want that. It's basically easy listening to, chill stuff and things like that. Other people want to excite their neurons. Other people want to experience a sort of natural chemical flow. For those who want either or both, they get it from a new experience. And it's why you got people who seek out different experiences or something that is to them a novelty. And this can include finding new music to listen to. So that is a thing. Now, while I do speak of good in all of this, there's also the bad. People who get lost in the labels and develop a negative bias. Alright, a good example involves many jazz enthusiasts that Andy has spoken of in his past videos. You have those who basically act in a positive manner, and then you got those who act in a negative manner. And I've seen this in other music genres as well. The rigid cynics, as I call them, the negative people, they follow necessarily strict rules as to how to do music and who can do music. And much like Andy, I disagree with this idea. I disagree with the cynics. Sadly, there is also a possibility that the cynics discourage people from getting into music. Fortunately, there are also many motivating factors that can encourage someone to perform or at the very least get into music. It is difficult to elevate new artists because of the cynics. However, there are people who will respect these artists, although that may require getting into a soundtrack or something else to draw attention. Likewise, many communities do have their collectives, which include music enthusiasts. This, of course, includes those who enjoy soundtracks. Now, one last thing, because of the whole subject of sports was brought up, I'm going to talk about this one. I will end with my own mention of sports. A big name in the virtual space, specifically the VTuber space, would be HoloLive. They were special guests who did a sort of collaborative event with baseball teams. They did this in Japan, and on July 5th of this year, they did the same thing in Los Angeles for a Dodgers game. And while some may assume that, this is not going to be something that would be enjoyed, surprisingly enough, a lot of people who are just regular baseball fans actually enjoyed it. Matter of fact, even with one of the HoloLive talents, Galgura, singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," the audience was singing along with her. So that is another way with music connecting people. Even though it's a new experience and different experience for a lot of people, they got into it. That was a good moment for them. And of course, there's the drone show as well, which does feature a song from another HoloLive member, which would be Suicide. Suicide? Why am I saying that name weird now? Whatever. The song Stellar Stellar is a very beautiful song. Of course, the cynics do have their words about this, but of course, cynics are going to be cynics, and I don't think we should be really giving them much attention. Instead, just appreciate that moments like these with people singing along do happen. And it's also because of this, I don't think that music's going to go away. It's going to change, and it's already changing, but that doesn't mean it's going to be something that people won't like either, much to the chagrin of the cynics. So with all that said, I am Neko Vermillion, and I thank you for watching. There's a stop record button.